Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of NFL Unhinged. I'm Brian Gregoire alongside Zeke Wagar, Austin Gast, and Tray Mosely as always. We've got a lot to unpack this week. We've got individual team rivalries here. We have sport-wide issues taking place, which I'm not going to waste any more time, as the NFL shouldn't waste any more time addressing this issue of roughing the passer. So on Sunday, as we all saw, and I'm an avid Tom Brady fan, and I will be the first person to admit to you that that sack on Tom Brady on Sunday that was called for roughing the passer was absolute, complete, and utter bullshit. I'll be the first one to admit that. Monday night, Chris Jones, the sack on Derek Carr. I mean, it was textbook form, textbook approach. That's how Chris Jones has been tackling since he was in Pop Warner, and he executed the tackle perfectly. Chased Derek Carr down. It was a third down. Sacked him. Was called for roughing the passer. Again, complete and utter bullshit. He's 325 pounds. What else is he supposed to do? But the NFL right now, because the flag was not thrown on Tua Tagovailoa when he was sacked against the Bengals, and the game that sidelined him for the next couple of weeks, because the flag wasn't thrown, the NFL is once again overcorrecting on an issue that wasn't addressed in that game, and I can't say it's affected the outcome of games because I'm not a subscriber to the theory that individual penalties affect the outcomes of games. But it definitely puts a damper on momentum, or sparks momentum in the case of Monday night with the Chiefs and the Raiders. So there's a lot going on. It's a big issue. The NFL is overcorrecting. That's my take on it. What do you guys have to say about that matter?
Go ahead, Zeke. I'll let you go first before I have to retort on what Brian just said.
Well, I think, as someone who's played defensive line, I when it comes down to something like roughing the passer, it's one of those things that, especially in Chris Jones's case, right? Like, you have so much momentum going, and the rule is supposedly, you're supposed to brace yourself when you go down, which he did. You're not supposed to put your full weight down on him, whatever, but there's realistically only so much you can do. And now Tom Brady, don't get me started on Tom Brady, because, the call on Sunday is one thing, but, listen, the guy's been getting that for 20 years.
Look. When you build relationships with the referees, like Kobe Bryant did, when you've been in the league for 23 years, them guys know you're going to throw the flag.
Listen, I don't care about relationships. I care about the game, and I care about, integrity. And, so that doesn't shock me. But I think ultimately it might come down. I remember a couple of years ago when the pass interference thing got changed. They would review it and whatever. Chris Jones wants something like that. It could happen. I don't know if it will. And even if it will, they'll probably end up taking it away just like they did the pass interference. So I don't know. Ultimately, the NFL is it's soft nowadays. So and none of that shocks me.
Mm-hmm.
Trey, you want to go next, or shall I take the floor?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Just basically reiterating what B's saying. I think with the Tua Tagovailoa situation, it's just making guys look at the situation different, especially referees and how things are approached. I do still believe that this is a overcorrection. Like Brian said, I think they finna overdo it for the rest of the year, just because of how severe Tua situation was. But yeah, I'm with B, man. That call was ridiculous. If I was a Bucks fan, yeah, they'll be hearing about that the rest of the season. Look at B.
Look, it was a great win on Sunday. Don't get me wrong. Brady's undefeated against the Falcons. Still, I know, Super Bowl 51 still stings.
You beat the Falcons 21-15 pounds.
Not that impressive. I'm sorry, man.
With them guys. Look, pal. Fins up. At least we won Sunday instead of losing to the Jets.
Hey, you had your starting quarterback. We had our third string.
Suck. You lost to the Jets. Give me a break.
Coming from the same guy that praised the Jets in the offseason.
Okay, it's not just with the short that I spoke the other day. I just put a look at how far the Jets has come. That's on me. That is on me.
I ain't gonna lie though. Even with Brian saying out there in the preseason, 40 points is unacceptable for the Jets. Like, I understand if you're your fourth quarterback, 40 points from the Jets.
Well, here's the thing, though. With
That's
9 minutes and 35 seconds left in the fourth quarter, that game was 19-17. There was a turnover on downs and a sack fumble that pretty much put him almost in the red zone. So I mean, I don't really. That score doesn't really mean anything.
Garbage points.
The game was a lot closer than it reflected on the final score. For sure.
They didn't score 40. I mean, if that would have been true 40, I would have been sick to my stomach, believe me. But I can't. Sunday means something. But anyway, go ahead. Keep going. What you were saying.
All right. So here's the thing. Talking about that Tua hit, we'll rewind a couple weeks back to the Tua Thursday night game against the Bengals. I've played for a very long time. And Josh Tupou, he's a big guy, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people called him out for that being a dirty hit, but that wasn't a dirty hit. Like, we've seen that style of hit be put on quarterbacks for decades. Like, I mean, honestly, the only reason why it was so ugly is because Josh Tupou grabbed him as he was flying through the air because he was off the ground. So 350 pounds of man swung around, and Tua, being a $150, just happened to swing around with him and hit his head against the ground. I honestly do believe that Tua shouldn't have been in that game. Like, I think if there wasn't a head injury, he was still injured and getting hit, which he had been getting hit previously, putting him in the presence that he could have gotten hit again and hurt his back or neck or head, whatever was actually injured with him in the first time. He shouldn't have been put in that situation, and he should have rested it from that game, honestly. And that game, he shouldn't have even been out there. That's my opinion, just on the whole Dolphins-Bengals situation.
Can I throw something out there real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I get that, right? But at the same time, he did clear all the tests, right? And, Miami followed all the rules, whatever. But I could probably say the same thing about T. Higgins, who was sleeping at MetLife on the turf on Sunday against the Jets. He probably shouldn't have been playing in that game either.
I agree with you.
But he balled out and didn't go down that game, so nobody speaks on that. So a lot of people come at Miami, and it's like,
well, here's the thing. He didn't actually pass all the tests. The NFLPA investigation into the Dolphins and the neuroconsultant, the unaffiliated neuroconsultant, found that the neuroconsultant missed things. Like he actually physically missed shit in his examination of Tua that would have qualified him as not passing certain checkpoints along that pathway. So he shouldn't have been out there because the neuroconsultant fucked up, and then he had promptly got fired the following weekend after the Bengals game. But you still, I mean, if you're an unaffiliated neuroconsultant, like, doing this shit for a team, you got to be better than that. Like, that's on him, like, not on the Dolphins, but that's on him, and he fucked up. And ultimately, Tua shouldn't have been out there. I agree. T. Higgins definitely shouldn't have been out there. Both of them ended up being out there. It just so happened that Tua took another big hit that ended up, causing the injury to worsen. T. Higgins was fortunate to not receive a big hit like that. So, that's pretty good. But fast forwarding now to, the stuff that happened this weekend. One, that Chris Jones roughing the passer was, like, there's nothing more that you can do as a lineman tackling a quarterback than that. Like, he did everything that he was supposed to do. One, at which point that they went down, technically, Carr didn't even have the ball anymore. So I know the ref said, well, he still gets the same protection as if he was a quarterback because he was in the passing process or whatever he called it. But he wasn't. He didn't have the ball. He was just a guy in the pileup. And a 325-pound man fell on him and shouldn't have been called. It should have been a fumble going the other way. Fumble recovery going the other way. And then the Tom Brady one. The Tom Brady was that one out of everything was a straight overcorrection. The Chris Jones one was a blatant miss on their part of like calling shit that shouldn't have been called. But the one that happened to the Falcons on Tom Brady, that was because that was the exact same thing happened to Tua that happened to Tom Brady. So that one was straight up like, holy shit, the rest got flamed in that Bengals Dolphins game. Let's not get flamed here for letting Tom Brady get whipped around like that. So that's why they threw the flag. It shouldn't be happening. The rest shouldn't have that much power, and it should honestly have. You should have somebody present at the games, a referee on, up in a booth, making like sky view calls like that of like, hey, if the refs throw a roughing the passer, okay, go up to the sky ref who's watching the game from multiple angles, see what he says, confirm it, just like they would for like a touchdown or a turnover. Like they need to have somebody there to like look at it just to give a second opinion of like, quick check, yep, everything looked good, cool, that was roughing the passer, or no, you can actually see Chris Jones' hands goes down, plus the ball was out, it's not a roughing the passer, go ahead and pick that flag up, tell him it was a fumble, and let's give Kansas City the ball that they should have had. Didn't end up mattering.
The topic of another thing that I want to add is, well, first of all, change needs to happen just based on the. Oh, look at my man Jonah. Look at my man Jonah in the background. Giants still suck, pal.
Yes, they do.
So I had to let him know that they still suck.
The 4-1 Giants.
That'll be funny.
The 4-1 Giants.
What a neat slapper. But change needs to happen because of the outrage that ensued after the Tom Brady hit, and especially, I've been watching football. We all been watching football for a long time. Very few times in my experience watching football have I ever seen like the fans completely lose control. Like I've heard boos before. Like I heard Baker Mayfield and the Panthers get booed off the field, deservedly so, when they're playing the Cardinals a couple weeks ago. But the way that Chiefs fans were booing, I mean, it went on for about 10 minutes. I mean, it was like, wow, like these people are making a statement. It was comparable to the Jets back on Thanksgiving when they were down 35-0 to the Patriots, the Mark Sanchez butt fumble game, when they're walking in the tunnel and the fans are like, don't even bother, come back on the fucking field. It was comparable to that. It was bad. So number one, and I want to add something about the whole Brady thing too, the Brady thing and the Chiefs thing. Like Brady and Chris Jones got highlighted because those were standalone games, just so that people can understand the severity of this issue. Those were two very highlighted examples because one was Tom Brady, one was a celebrity football player, and the other was a standalone game. That shit was happening all afternoon on Sunday, all afternoon and evening on Sunday, with overcorrections. There was an issue back in September with Tua, which that should have been called, and it's like a pendulum. Like everything, it's like a pendulum. There's an issue back in September, but in order to restore a balance, the NFL is really overcorrecting here, calling the most minuscule calls, which is not going to last. It's not sustainable because you're going to lose control of crowds, and it'll be like Neyland Stadium against Ole Miss last year, with coaches getting hit by golf balls, and you don't want that. It's like a pendulum. It needs to swing back into the middle, just where you just use your eyes, make your judgment. Was it roughing the passer? Was it unnecessary? Is he good? Like Teddy Bridgewater stung off the field. Give me a fucking break. He doesn't have a concussion. But like if somebody obviously got hit and they're wobbly, get off the field. Just like use your judgment. Don't overcorrect. Don't underperform. Just at the end of the day, just use your common sense as refs. Just use your judgment. You're gonna miss shit sometimes, but your judgment 80% of the time is gonna be accurate.